Yo, what's going on, all you awesome tactical peeps out there? Welcome to XCOM week. Yesterday's video was the XCOM timeline. If you haven't seen it yet, please check it out. Music here is brought to you by my good friend. Check out his channel, Nobody's Lo-Fi. Now, let's go ahead and get right to it, man. Let's dive into this video. I am so hyped. So who exactly are the Chosen? How do skirmishers or reapers live? What is it like to live in an Advent city? There are so many questions. Today we will be going through the Chosen, digging into who they are and how they came to be. And we will be starting off with the Hunter, who has the most information you could read on. The Hunter was designed to be an unequaled military tactician, one able to predict and defeat the increasing number of guerrilla tactics conducted against Advent by the resistance force Reapers. He has long pursued the Reaper faction. With his arrival came with the disappearance of one of their greatest operatives. The Hunter has an uncanny familiarity with the Reapers and their methods, leading some among the group to believe that he is in fact their long missing operative. However, most among the people will insist it's only a trick of the elders intended to demoralize the resistance. Let's introduce Alina, the same one whom you first see when meeting up with the Reapers in the game XCOM 2.
But unnecessary.
You see, way back when her and the Reapers got into a unexpected firefight with Advent, saying things like, "How did Advent find us?" This may have just been a cleanup patrol to eliminate lost or contain them, or maybe they just got lucky. Anyway, in this firefight, a man named Tomiko is shot and wounded. While everybody was being swarmed by Advent, a Reaper grabbed Alina to escape, having to leave Tomiko behind in his injured state. You see, Alina and Tomiko shared a relationship, so obviously she didn't want to leave him, but there really was no choice. Mox, while he was still in Advent, was given an order by the elders to capture a Reaper. That way they could find a way to fight the Reapers in a different way. Didn't matter which Reaper, any would do. And since Tomiko was left behind, he was the obvious choice. They brought him to an Advent facility and experimented on him. While they were doing those experiments, we learned that they already created a weapon to combat the Templars, and now they must create a weapon to fight the Reapers. Tomiko went through it for weeks, constantly calling himself by his own name, Tomiko, just to keep himself from falling to their brainwash, but to no avail. The elders removed Tomiko from his own memories, forcing mountains of data into his brain for what must have been weeks or even months. When Tomiko came out of the pod, he was no longer the Reaper, no longer Tomiko, and no longer Elena's lover. He was the Hunter. Even though Tomiko was erased, the personality stayed, snappy and kind of funny. The Hunter understands that he was a Reaper, but not exactly who, and he could care less. He retained the knowledge of Reapers and how they operate, giving Advent, the elders, a huge boost in military might. The Hunter was so capable of understanding Reaper tactics, he set up a trap, made it look like Advent was just passing by with some good loot. While the Reapers hid in wait, he pinged each and every location of the Reapers. And remember, the Reapers are extremely well at hiding.
Are safe here. More so than you imagine.
While the Reapers were escaping, he knew exactly where they would be, and he got to that location first in a surprise attack. The only reason the others stayed alive was because of the terrain and a well-placed grenade, pretty much. The Hunter was relentless against the Reapers, literally striking fear right into their souls. There was a Reaper named Petrov who was with two others, and they were dealing with some Advent officers, right? Their base was about 10 minutes away, a base of 21 Reapers. On the way back, they saw a figure that might have stood 10 feet tall and noticed that their base camp had one major flaw. There was a huge ledge where you could see the whole camp base, and no one was posted there, pretty much piecing together that any enemy could get a view of the whole base. Anyway, when noticing that, they raced back to the camp, But then they started hearing screams in the distance towards the camp. The closer they got, the less screams they heard until it was silent. Then even in Petrov's team, they went down one by one till she was left alone. When she arrived at the camp, Reaper bodies covered the ground. Some of them had been hit unaware, even holding a stew pot. Others gunned down behind rocks. There was absolutely no safe place. Worst of all, there were 3 Reapers that were strung up, alive and conscious, with torn faces. She was soon knocked out, only to wake up being hung upside down. Her clothes on her stomach was torn off, showing her insides and exposed midsection. She hears the hunter say, "I planned to gut you alive like I did some of your brethren, but now I think not." He gently got her down and whispered in her ear, "Every Reaper will die, gutted." And there you go. That's the story of the hunter who was once Tamiko. And if you are enjoying this video so far, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, because we have more XCOM coming this week. Moving on to the next chosen. We're going to actually talk about the 3rd chosen created by the elders, the assassin.
At last, a true battle. You have done well, XCOM. Know that you have earned a good death.
Was their final attempt at creating a warrior capable of fulfilling their vision in battle. While still remaining both loyal and focused, trained in the sword, she is a deadly melee combatant who relies heavily on stealth and the shadows to neutralize her targets. Initially tasked with hunting the skirmishers who escaped from Advent's control, somehow their leader Betos and her right-hand man Mox slipped through the assassin's grasp. Having failed her masters, the assassin is driven to reconcile for her mistakes through XCOM's defeat and the return of their commander. This part you can learn from the game XCOM 2, but what can we find out from the books? The assassin was made to fight the skirmishers, but what's even better is the assassin was a skirmisher. More information on skirmishers in a later video this week. Now first off, I wasn't sold on the assassin being a skirmisher because of how the assassin operates is wildly different from how skirmishers operate. Sure, in the book XCOM 2 Escalations, the assassin addresses the skirmishers as traitors. This isn't solid proof that the assassin was once a skirmisher, but there are details that give it away.
Good to see you, sister. Miscreants. No, the 3 of us called upon together. Something has changed.
A lot of people interpreted this as them being brother and sister, but when you really piece together how skirmishers operate, it becomes a bit more clear. For example, in XCOM 2 Escalations Chapter 3, this came from a conversation between 2 skirmishers. Derek's smiled, but then the image changed. He said, "I saw myself advancing through the woods with my skirmisher brothers." Monk replied, "How so, brother?" These 2 call each other brother quite a bit, but it's not just them. XCOM 2 Escalations Chapter 3, when the artist finished, he stepped in front of Derek's and raised his hand. "Rise, brother," he said. "Are we kin?" asked Mox. With his response, "Every skirmisher is kin." So skirmishers addressing each other as kin is normal.
Brothers and sisters, welcome home.
So it's no surprise that the assassin would introduce this concept to the other chosen. And if the assassin was a human or just a Advent soldier that became chosen, they still wouldn't know how to, like attack skirmishers and make them hurt. The elders are actually very smart, possibly one of the smartest enemies in games. I mean, they did win the war for like 20 years. XCOM 1 and 2 are 20 years apart, so yeah, Advent held a 20-year W. So definitely what they did was take a skirmisher and turn them into a chosen. Still retaining their memory, only wiping the memories that would be a hindrance, just like what they did with the hunter. Anywho, the assassin was such a vengeful professional. Check this out, right? XCOM 2 Escalations Chapter 4. "What is this?" he cried out. An image had been flashed, seared onto the mylar shroud on the exterior wall. It was a silhouette profile of a towering, alien-looking figure, monstrous, open mouth, fangs bared, armed with twin swords. Smaller figures surrounded it, slain and falling. Etched under the image was an Advent language phrase that translated to, "You betray your own creation." Derek's raised his shotgun and kicked open the hut door to find his tribe. All 12 kills were precise and clean. All suffered deep blade cuts. All 12 seemed to have fallen with little, if any, struggle. The bodies were arranged like spokes on a wheel, feet out, heads touching at the hub. The forehead of each corpse was stamped with the word for traitor in cursive ink. On the wall, written in orange hybrid blood, was another Advent phrase that translates to, "I am the assassin." And there you go. The assassin is a skirmisher who was kidnapped and turned into a chosen. With a powerful hate towards the skirmishers, she strikes fear. She leaves messages letting them know exactly who she is and how she feels. Of the 3 chosen created by the elders, the warlock is said to be the oldest, the first of their attempts at harnessing the latent psionic potential of humanity. Unflinching loyalty, the warlock believes himself to be a true favored child of the elders and tolerates little in the way of disobedience or disrespect towards his masters. In battle, he is a champion of psionic power, wielding it with a degree of confidence not seen outside of the elders themselves. He has taken a particular interest in the Templar faction as they attempt to reclaim the power of humanity that he himself expects to harness as his reward for serving the elders. So this information you can find on XCOM 2 the game, but let's take a look at the book. Now I must say this, the warlock has the least information, but there is enough information to come to some concrete theories. So the warlock was created to fight against the Templars. Now, guys, the Templars were a big problem for Advent. They literally scared the shit out of the Advent soldiers and sectoids. I didn't even know those motherfuckers could be scared, but they did it. These guys were a problem, man. And that's a very important piece of information, right? Because the hunter was taken from the Reapers. The assassin was taken from the skirmishers. Putting 2 and 2 together, you would assume the warlock is a kidnapped Templar. But this theory I don't side with, because like I said before, man, Advent was terrified of the Templars, man. Sectoids, Advent soldiers, everybody was just getting destroyed. I don't think Advent could have gotten their hands on a Templar. Honestly, there's just no information that supports that, given how powerful they are. I believe they had the choice of either choosing an Advent soldier or a human and making them their first chosen to counter the Templars. Another reason why I don't think the warlock is a Templar is because, from what I've read, Templars were never terrorized like the Reapers or skirmishers even after the warlock came into the picture. The assassin and hunter were able to know exactly where they would be, how they operate, and all that. The warlock never did anything like that. The Templars were never put in that type of situation. That's why I think he also considers himself to be the true chosen. He wasn't taken from those enemy factions. He was brought up from the Advent Corps itself. He's the only one who didn't come from an enemy faction. But like I said before, the warlock has the least information. So with this one, I could be wrong. Y'all tell me what you think. Where do you think the warlock came from? Do you think he was just a Templar who was taken? But again, the Templars were not taking any L's. Them guys were bringing heat. But anywho, that brings us to the ending of this video. The second video in our XCOM week. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, because I definitely did. I enjoyed working on this one. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And if you are hungry for more, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow's video will be what it's like to live in an Advent city. I mean, I got all the details. Thank you so much for the Nobody's Lo-Fi for giving us our awesome beats. And with that being said, peace out, you amazing, awesome tactical peeps out there. Love you guys. Peace out.